Of what is the title of your course? Sustainable Food Systems? Of the Sustainable Food Systems course and the Office of Sustainability, the Office of Research and Sponsored Programs, and the Sustainability Council Sustainability Research and Practice Seminar. This is the 13th presentation in our fall 2025 program. So it's the final one. It's always a little bit bittersweet for us to have the final session and say goodbye until the spring semester. But my name is Brad Flam. I'm the director of the Office of Sustainability, and it's mostly sweet, not bitter, to be having this last session of the semester. Just want to thank Professors Giovine and Davidson for helping us set up this session today. We're very much looking forward to it. And thank also our colleagues in the Office of Research and Sponsored Programs and the Sustainability Council's Scholarly and Creative Activities Committee. We do have a few copies of the program left for this semester. They're collector's editions now, so don't fight to come up and grab one. They're also good souvenirs for those of you who have presented or just enjoyed the semester's program. So without further ado, I'm going to stop talking and join me in welcoming our moderators for today's presentation.
Let's see. So I'm going to start off with just a little bit of a foundation of what we're going to be talking about. One of the things that Dr. Giovine and I really are passionate about is social sustainability and what that means and how does it influence when someone leaves their country and comes to our country, or we leave our country and go to another. I got to move. All right.
There you go. Now you're in the screen.
And now I'm in the screen. Okay. So, we're going to really focus on social sustainability, but we've done all three of the pillars, but this is our focus today. So social sustainability is in the broadest of the three pillars that we have been talking about. And it's actually access to resources. That includes housing, healthcare, food access, and food security. Labor practices we've talked about in the class, employment and global food system itself, ethical treatment and human rights, fair trade practices, and community engagement, and then opportunities to thrive and ensure well-being. And part of that the sustainability is food waste factors. And part of food waste factors is the heritage or the food heritage that a person brings to another country and how that changes. And also traditional knowledge about their recipes that you make, the ingredients that are used, and things like that. It's kinship. It's that whole idea. And so when someone comes to another country, how do they adapt? And there's basically like three different stages when people adapt to when it comes to food waste. Is they have first this perplexity of like, what is going on? What is all these foods that I see, or the lifestyle? And then they start kind of negotiating, what can I take on and what can I not? And then finally they pick what they can handle and then merge it with what their life was like in their former country. And so I'm going to pass this on over to Dr. Giovine.
Thanks. Thank you. So as our students here know, so that was Dr. Patricia Davidson. Michael D. Giovine. I'm a professor of anthropology here at Westchester. What's kind of cool about this class is it's one of very few courses and one of the first courses to be taught across colleges, across disciplines. So we have a dietitian and we have an anthropologist. My specialty is actually in tourism and mobilities. We run a study abroad program to Perugia, Italy every summer, and I see I have a nice group of former students there. I'm gonna plug a couple things. So
yes.
My book, Study Abroad and the Quest for an Anti-Tourism Experience, was written a couple of years ago. And with Brad Flam and Paul Sylvester, we've talked a little bit on one of these seminars a couple of years ago on the environmental sustainability of study abroad. So what I like about this and why we wanted to do this is that we wanted to shift a little bit to talk about social sustainability. And as Dr. Davidson said, I mean, when you're thinking about sustainability, right, about ensuring, balance in your life, ensuring that the resources that you have are all that you need, and that you're not, going to impinge upon future generations' use of those resources too. You also have to think about social sustainability. You also have to think about, as Dr. Davidson said, the ways in which societies and groups and communities are allowed to pursue well-being, that to put into place those mechanisms. And when we're talking about foodways, it's a really interesting issue, right? Social and cultural sustainability, because on the one hand, when you have migration, right, like immigration, like I guess you guys are our guest speakers, who are all students, undergrad, master students, and EDD students. So we have all three levels here. When you're emigrating, you always have that tension between, and I'd love to hear from you guys as well, from what we call acculturation tensions. So acculturation is learning a different culture, right? Learning a culture that is not your first culture. So when you were born and or raised as a baby into one culture, we call it enculturation, right? So you are learning your primary culture, and that includes your norms, values, and worldviews, as well as, what is normal, right? What is natural, what you see as natural. And as Dr. Davidson, who's a dietitian, will talk to you about, I mean, that starts, right, from breastfeeding and onwards biologically as well. So when you move to another country for any period of time, and I think, I'd love to hear also from our study abroad students who, Kai, you've been for a year, some of Katie and Clara were in Italy for 5 weeks. When you're trying to adapt and adjust to a new culture, learn a new culture, learn a new food culture, right? There's always going to be some tensions. There's always going to be some give and take there. So we had entitled this this talk "Culinary Acculturation" amongst students who are studying from other countries at Westchester University. So you guys aren't studying abroad, you're pursuing degrees here, which is not technically study abroad, it's something different. It's matriculation. But nevertheless, you're carrying all of those ideas and values and culture from your home society with you, and trying to adjust and adapt to a new culture, and in this case, a new food culture, a new eating culture.
And then there's basically there's two things to consider: is there's heritage food and food heritage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so heritage food is the inherited traditions, your religion, your beliefs about there's certain things you'll eat and you won't eat, and things like that. And it's part of your daily practices and preparations. Whereas food heritage is, how did your grandma make that? What utensils did they use? What is the symbolism of the food that you ate? And so these are the kind of things that we want to learn. I mean, I could say this is my big thing, is that I like to learn about what it is that people carry with them from one generation to the next. And then when you move away from your family, what is that like?
Yeah.
As you're here studying, you're here for 3 years, one is here for 1 year. I don't know how long you guys have been here, but there really is got to be a change in the way you see things and finding the ingredients and things like that.
Yeah. One of the other things too, there's a lot of work on heritage and identity among immigrants and acculturation, especially among like sociologists of the 60s and the 70s. That was a really big point. And what's really interesting is that they found that of all the ways that you adapt, right, that you acculturate, right, that you start to, and then you pass on to your kids, right, foodways are the last thing to go. So people, your kids, if you live in America and you marry an American, your kids might speak English as their first language. So the language leaves, you might convert in religion, your worldviews might change, but typically in migrant communities, third, fourth, fifth generations, they're still practicing, there some sort of heritage food, at least during key moments, so like, as my students know, as an Italian American, my family's from Italy. I'm the only one that speaks Italian of my cousins, and that was with my grandmother not even speaking English. And some cousins have converted to not out of Christian Catholicism and stuff, but we are always doing the Feast of Seven Fishes, But what happens with culinary acculturation is you could adapt to those things. So if you don't have the same resources that are there, you're going to find new ways of dealing with the same things to get your comfort food, but do things differently, or your taste change. That's part of it too, right?
There's a big part that changes your sense. Your senses are the things that you are born intuitively born with, and then by being exposed to new things, you may or may not like it. So some cultures really like these very stringent tasting foods that have been fermented, and some people will not eat fermented foods, or some people will eat certain types of fermented foods like natto from in Japan, but they won't eat fermented foods here, cheeses and things like that. So it really is a sense of taste. And part of that is when you eat differently, it changes how your body responds to food. Your gut changes, and you can develop different tastes because of that. But basically, your intuitiveness about eating doesn't really go away, but your sense of taste does.
I think with that, that was enough talk. I don't know if anybody has any questions just in that overview, but certainly we want to bring, we want to feature our guest for today. If you guys want to come up, and we'll have you guys introduce ourselves. You could sit here and we'll sit at the end. We'll kind of. Oh, we have one less chair. That's right. You guys go for it. I'll stand. So that's Tomas Jolie from Brazil. This is really great, and I want to thank actually the GEO, the Global Engagement Office, for helping us set this up, because they were able to find you guys, which is really wonderful. That span all the different types of levels, let's say, of study here at Westchester. But also, I think we have 4 different continents represented as well. So really, we have a nice kind of array of different foodways and different food cultures. So we have. Let's just go through. You guys can.
So we'd like you to introduce yourself.
So
and
Shop,
with
you want to start?
is to start with, where you're from. Maybe a little bit about why you came here, and then the other thing is how long you've been here, because that's really crucial to dietary acculturation and culinary acculturation. Okay.
So my name is Shastafat. I'm from Bangladesh. We came here around like 6 years ago. My family came here because my father wanted to, basically. So my father really liked America for some reason. He was like, let's move to America. So that's the whole reason I came here. So, yep.
I am Tomas. I am from Brazil. I'm here for 6 months only. I came here first because of the tennis program. I was invited by the coach and for the experience. And by far, I'm liking pretty much here.
I'm Sarah. I'm from Ireland and I'm doing a master's in literacy education. And I came here via kind of a collaboration with my university at home. 2 of us came to do a master's here, and I've only just started, so I've been here since August.
Hi everyone. My name is Sunday. I'm from Nigeria. I'm a doctoral student in the higher education policy and administration. I came to the US in 2023, first in Minnesota, where I had my master's degree in biology, and now my doctorate program here at Westchester University. And why I chose Westchester University is because of the testimonies I've heard from friends of mine who graduated from here about the support they got from faculty, and then
That's great. That's good to know. So I think I guess the first question would be just a very basic thing, like what are your initial impressions of the US in terms of your culinary acculturation, right? Like what was your first when you got here, right? What was the food like? And what were your impressions about that?
So for me, I still struggle with food in US, but
After 6 years?
yes, but first 2, 3 years were like pretty crazy because nothing tastes like how things used to be. I think I don't know. I don't know how to explain the whole feeling, but the food tastes a lot of different than back home. Back home, like it was mostly everything fresh every day. They would like cut it off and like bring it to the town and then they sell stuff. So it was like pretty fresh compared to what we have in superstores here. So I think that was like the biggest difference. And also, since we use a lot of spices, I think that like really like changes the taste overall here. So
Yeah.
pretty much that's the reason. Right now it's pretty tolerable. Like I can't eat like US food, but yeah, it's still.
Well, how do you, and well, I guess it's a different question, but just to move on with yours first. So there is a larger South Asian community in this region, in this area, and there are, how do you, like there are a lot of Italian American restaurants here, which I don't go to any of them, but what, what, is there a support, sort of like a community where you can source these things or go out?
So we have a community right now. We do sell certain items, most of the items technically, but still like they're mostly US produced or like it's really hard to like import all those like specific spices from like other countries. This is gonna cost a lot. Some spices and like say cloves, cardamoms, and like chili powders, paprika. Those are like import like producing US base. So what happens? I think that's like since it's states from a different country, the taste changed significantly. I don't see any like too much like even though there's difference, but there's still like it's the same, but it still like leaves a difference on the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And part of that is because there's an Americanized version of the flavors that you think you're going to be eating your traditional food, but oftentimes what chefs say that they have to prepare it, or the food industry has to prepare it to American standards, and it's not to the standards that you're used to.
Like, let's say we have some really specific fishes that we have in our country, but like by the time they're here, they taste absolutely perfect.
Is it because like because it's imported and had to be frozen, or is there just different?
Frozen. They have like there's a specific fish, our national fish. It's like that fish like lays eggs in river, but initially it stays in the sea. So it comes once a year to lay eggs in the river. That time we catch them. So they import those fish here, and I can tell you, the taste difference is so big that you know immediately if you had it in back home Bangladesh and you just had it right here, and you'll know like, oh, this is so different. Because like when the fish is imported to US, they have like I think 118 different like lab tests they have to go through, and then also it's been like frozen for like 2-3 months, and that's
the problem. The problem is they have the food safety standards. They have to go through that, and by the time they finish doing that,
it just stays the same.
It's not fresh anymore. It may be coming fresh from the water, but it's not fresh anymore.
Well, how about Thomas?
So I'm guy that likes most of the foods. I like to try everything. But when I first came here, I saw a lot of fried food, deep fried. At my home, I do it a lot. But then I tried it, I liked, but it was getting me a bit sick. I was having stomachache, my gut was a bit messed up. So I had to stop eating fried food, even though it's good. What I miss the most, I feel that I would eat back my home a lot of fish, fresh fish. Me, my brother, my father, we would even catch, and we would prepare it. I miss this. Also, a lot of steamed meat. We would cook it in pressure, make it soft. These are my comfort foods.
Yeah, that's cool.
So you said you had stomach issues.
Yeah.
That happens to almost anybody that goes to any country. You're gonna have stomach changes. And then you can adapt. I don't want to tell you to adapt to the fried foods, but the point is have you been able to adapt well enough that you don't continue to have this?
Yeah, I just stopped eating the fried food that I was eating because I arrived here, I was seeing a dining hall, nuggets, fried chicken, even the pizza. No, I wouldn't eat this too much at my home, and it's good food, but I would eat and I would get sick after. So I just cut it,
Okay,
Well,
Yeah,
probably even the oil that's used, right, would
Yeah.
probably be
Yeah.
different.
the oil's different, but also it's your gut changes
mhm.
to what is you're losing what you were able to digest easily in your country. Your gut flora changes, and this is what I hear quite frequently from students that come from abroad, that they have a lot of stomach issues. So we need to be aware of that, you try to find those foods that you're used to, and gradually acculturate to that food.
Yeah, maybe I think the oil can be. My home would cook mostly with pork fat or
Mhm.
cow fat, and not much. I don't know what oil they use here, but
Seed
vegetable
oil,
Yeah,
seed
seed
oil, seed
oils.
oil. Yeah, same for us. We did not use too much of like the seed oil.
Right,
We mostly use the rice brain oil and all, like I said, animal fat that we have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
and we don't use that. We tend to use the cheaper things like soy and canola and seed oils. So that's what's bothering you. If it was fried in the pork fat, you probably would be just fine. How about you?
Yeah, so I think funny enough, the first thing I noticed about food was how much it's spoken about here. And it was the biggest shock to me was that she had our international orientation. And I was sitting next to my friend also from Ireland, and we said, oh my goodness, we should really be keeping a tally of how many times they've mentioned food, and we've been here for an hour. So I think that's what makes it most challenging to eat healthy, I think, is because you're just surrounded by food here. There's always some event going on campus where they're like, oh, there's free food at this, or there's free pizza here, or there's I definitely feel like it's a battle to eat healthily here since I arrived. But like in terms of the types of food is pretty similar to Irish, what we'd be eating. Like we have also adapted, and like you can get Italian foods in any other country, is represented in Ireland too when it comes to restaurants and foods. Probably still like more fat and cheeses and stuff here. Like we're thinking of the mac and cheese from Thanksgiving last week. But yeah, that's just the fact that it's spoken about so much.
Yeah, that's a really good,
Interesting.
interesting point too, because I was thinking, all right, what are you gonna say? Because, Irish food is not too dissimilar from, the traditional kind of American style food, a lot of meat and potato kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But at the same time, part of culinary acculturation is also adapting to the style of eating, when to eat, right? Like, I know we have a Spanish Catalonian here as well. Like in Italy, I mean, we eat big meals in the middle of the day and lighter at night and stuff. And to change that, to change that kind of thing, that's part of adaptation too. Or, I have to say, I did my dissertation research among Irish pilgrims. So in Italy, for Padre Pio. And and I mean, it was so funny because, we're so similar, but yet, the tea isn't hot enough in it, the water's not hot enough in Italy, there's no potatoes, there's pasta instead of potato, like these little things that people get really upset.
Yeah.
Even on a 10-day trip, they would get, I need to have this stuff, because that's the other thing too, when you come to a different place, because food is so visceral, because it's so part of your body, it engages all of your senses. It's kind of like the luggage that you take on a trip. If that gets lost, even though you could buy new stuff, it's your stuff. And to not be able to have it, you feel a little bit unbalanced. I think what I'm also hearing as well, especially from Shah, that there's this like, geez, an unbalancedness. These things don't taste the same. These things aren't right. This is part of who I am, and I feel less connected without that.
Let's hear from the last person.
Okay, So my initial impression about the American food was a mix of curiosity, adjustment, and then fascination. So when I arrived in the United States in 2023, most of the foods that I saw in Minnesota, most especially Bemidji, where I got my master's degree, was that I saw that the American foods are highly processed, and to an extent, some of the food has, a high concentration of, salt. And then, yeah, I could remember that the friend I was staying with back then in Minnesota, like, it was like, hey, what's your favorite American dish? I was like, just cook anything. Like, I'm hungry, like, traveling all the way from, Nigeria to the US, which was like a 19-hour straight flight. It was crazy. So I just told him, but the moment the moment he gave me the food and I, ate it, I didn't want him to feel bad because I found it difficult, eating everything because of the way it tastes. And that was my first time of tasting American food. So the next day he asked me, what are you gonna eat? I said, you know what? I guess I brought I brought some, foodstuffs from Nigeria. So I think I'm just gonna, feed on what I brought from home. So I I ate the food for I think about 3 months, but when the food that I brought from Nigeria got exhausted, I had no option than to, start adjusting to the American food. But one thing that helped me was that I am very picky when it comes to, eating different kinds of food. So what I did was, to be feeding on grains. Yeah, the rice and then some vegetables. But then I would say that there are a lot of, differences between the African food and the American food, because back in Nigeria, I came from a family where it is compulsory that we eat fresh food on daily basis. That has been the custom. So throughout my life, I've been used to eating fresh food, but it's changed when I got to the US. So I had no option than to, adjust. Even though I don't continue, eating the American food on daily basis, I try to, kind of balance it such that when I'm very hungry, maybe after, a long day from school, I just make sure I grab some of the American foods like the pizza I have in my refrigerator and stuff like that. Yeah.
So with that in mind, are there things that heritage or food identity that has changed? Have you, like, you've been here the longest, you've been here the shortest, any identity or things that you're hanging on to food wise?
Yeah, so for me, if anyone is from Africa, we're used to, most of the African foods are carbohydrates, like the yam, the cassava, the one you mentioned earlier, the fufu. Yeah, I love that so much. Like, we eat that on daily basis. And that is like, a traditional food that we used to eat back then in Africa with, a lot of vegetables we use as soup, and then with me. So I kind of, missed, that type of food. And more importantly, there is this food that we called pounded yam. Yeah, pounded yam, it's from the name, like pounded yam, it's a name from the yam that was pounded. So you could either, pound it through, mortar and pestle traditionally, or you use the pounding machine to pound it. So that is, in fact, that is our identity in the southwest of Nigeria. Anybody from southwest of Nigeria, just say, hey, do you know pounded yam or fufu? They were like, oh, that's the food we eat every day. So I kind of,
Funny story. So Christian missionaries, when they were trying to, teach, missionize in Nigeria and everything, they would first say like, all right, you got to learn the Lord's Prayer, right? The Our Father. And you get to a point, give us this day our daily bread. There's a bread. They had it translated. They realized that they had it translated to give us this day our daily pounded yam.
Yeah.
Right? That's how important, right? This is the staple of that culture.
So have you been able to bring that into your life here at all, the pounded yam?
Oh, so I think we're in a period where technology is advancing every day. So what they've been able to do successfully was to turn the yam into flour such that it can be exported from Africa to the United States. So you can easily go to any of the African store and just buy it for yourself.
Does it taste the same? Does it feel?
No, it doesn't.
But it does help you with that
Exactly.
connection, right? Okay.
And this is also something we've been talking for our class, right? We've been talking about a lot because, this is a class on sustainable food systems and, the sustainability research seminar, maybe some of the guests here who go to the seminars are like, well, where's all the environmental sustainability, right? Where's the discussion of that? It's always, we always say in this class that there's ethical decisions you have to make about which of the three pillars, environmental, economic, and sociocultural, how do you integrate and balance them? Because you can't have 100% of each one. It's not you can't have fufu from Nigeria and make it cheap and economically, affordable and have low food mileage, right? Like low, it just can't happen. So everybody has to negotiate, especially if you're passionate about sustainability, like what gives, right? Like, are you able to say, it is important every once in a while to actually have, something, even if it does have a larger carbon footprint, because I need it for my cultural identity, for my community,
So let's move away a little bit from food, even though that is the heart of things. Basically, you're getting the point here. Is we really do connect to our food more than just for nourishment. It's part of our cultural heritage. But what about there's other social sustainability aspects? Like, have you been able to find a community? What has helped you adapt socially in this country?
So for us, we have a pretty big Bengali community in here, and I live in Upper Darby. So we have a decent Bengali community in Upper Darby. We have our different food stores. We have grocery stores and stuff. So yeah, we have a decent one, but not as big as New York. If you ever been to New York,
Yeah.
there's
Or New
bunch
Jersey.
of
Seriously, yeah.
and this is the place I love to go because the food is closest to what I used to eat. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Other than that, we have it's not the same, of course, but most of the things some community culture stuff we celebrate two major, for us Muslims, we celebrate two big religion holidays. So it's kind of like here, we do celebrate, go to the mosque and pray on a specific day. For the in Hindus, not Indian Hindus, Bangladeshi Hindus, they also have can have a shorter program. Even though they're the smaller minority, they still have can do a program and all the indoor stuff. So yeah, it's pretty much that we have community, but it's not as big as though they used to be. Say, let's for Ramadan. Ramadan, it's not as flashy. It's here. It's pretty much it feels like a regular day. But if you go to Ramadan, not just Bangladesh, if you just go to Iran, Pakistan, or India, or any Middle Eastern countries, you see it's much more vibrant and much more lively, and you know oh, this is some time of years going on. So other than except for these certain stuff, most of the things are we kind of manage and try to get into it.
So,
Anybody else want to add to that?
Thomas, there's not a big Brazilian or even Portuguese community
Oh
here?
yeah, here in Westchester there aren't many Brazilians. I have met one girl, but in the USA there's a lot of Brazilians. I have a few friends that live in Florida right now. I could have been able to visit them 2 times. But here there aren't many Brazilians, but the community is nice. The tennis team is really close.
Yeah.
It's been nice.
So you
Yeah.
feel like you've developed another community, you know,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah, I have never met Americans before. It's my second time here and making American friends. Yeah.
That's
Great.
cool. That's good.
In my case, I think every second person tells me they're Irish. Very excitedly, and even has asked me, do you know such and such a person in Ireland? But in terms of like social adjustment, like I found everyone around here to be very, very friendly and welcoming. And I suppose there's so much diversity that everyone belongs. But especially for me, as a Catholic, I've spent a lot of time in the Newman Centre on campus, and like they're like another family now. And we've been on trips, we've done community service, we gather together for mass. There's like nearly every day I'm there. So it's been really, really nice as a home away from home for me.
Very nice.
Can I ask just a follow-up there? So, that's a really interesting point because so many people Americans identify as Irish American, right? Or Italian American, right? And they're not the same. What do you say to people who, or if they try to share their own culture, do you do this, do you do that? St. Patrick's Day,
Yeah.
which is not as big in Ireland.
I actually have to say I've developed a bit more respect for these people, because at home we kind of make fun of a lot of Americans. They're like a third of Americans claim to be Irish, and we're like, oh, ridiculous. But now I kind of sit down with them and I hear the story, and quite often it's like the great grandmother or the grandmother, and they have like some of them. It might even appear more Irish than me because they're playing Gaelic football and they're Irish dancing, and I'm at home in Ireland.
We have an Irish dancer.
Yes, I started. We've made that connection. But I like at home. I play tennis and I do ballet. So like there are definite aspects of Irish heritage that they really embrace as Irish Americans.
Yeah.
And so I've like come to appreciate that more than just like kind of laughing it off.
Yeah. How about the food? Food is so big. Like Italian food here is not Italy food, right? So the Irish American food, like we corned beef and cabbage or something like that we have on St. Patrick's Day. I mean, how do you feel how do you feel about those kinds of food? Are they similar? The kinds of the sausages, the kinds of stuff?
I haven't yet had the experience of St. Patrick's Day in America, which I'm looking forward to. So I can't really comment on that just yet, but I will say I got a cabbage in the supermarket last week, and I cooked it just the way my grandmother does, with loads of butter, and it was really comforting because it was like the closest thing I've had to like real, what my mom or grandmother would cook at home. So that was really good. Yeah. One thing I miss here though is the black and white pudding, or like something I look forward to going home to, the full Irish breakfast.
Yeah.
Which yeah.
You think Kildare's is up to? Have you gone to Kildare restaurant?
I haven't. Yes.
I don't think that's.
Everyone's always asking me, "Oh, which Italian restaurant do you like?" Oh, I don't like any of them.
Yeah. And how about you?
So for me, I'm new here in Pennsylvania, so I'm still trying to figure out where, to find my community. But back in Minnesota, we do really have a very strong Nigerian community where we gather once in 3 months, just to appreciate our culture, by cooking up the different types of food we have back home, and just to.
So I think all of you are starting to talk. I'm just curious to be very explicit. So comfort food, right? Everybody has a comfort food. You're talking about you just needed to make that cabbage the way your grandmother did. What is food would be like the comfort food? What is the food that like if you really crave it and it'll make you feel good again? Is there something in particular?
Yeah, so Thank you for asking. I remember when it was in March that I went to all the international students in my former school went to Chicago for like a vacation, 1 week vacation during the spring break. So when we got there, then the first question I asked, the few people who I met in Chicago was that do we have any Africa like Nigeria cuisine here? And they said yes. But when I got there, I said, please, in my dialect, like local dialect, we call it Amala and Ewedu. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I got there, they were like, oh, it's available. I said, please, can I have some? Even though it was expensive, that's one of the disadvantages of eating your local food here in the United States. Very expensive to buy.
Right, economic sustainability is something
Exactly.
that,
So yeah,
Yeah.
I think when I go to that restaurant, I ate it and it was
Yeah.
very nice. And then it just kind of made me reflect back on the type of food we used to eat back
Mhm.
home. Yeah.
yeah. Thomas, what, like black beans and rice or,
Yeah, this is
what
good.
do you think?
Yeah, here when they have rice and beans, I take the advantage, even though it's not the same. I always eat because in Brazil we eat rice and beans almost every meal. It's something that I miss the most. And my comfort food, it's called feijoada. I don't know if you guys have heard about that. It's basically a big pan, a big pot with steam with different cuts of pork and beef, and we eat it with black beans and rice. It's my
Like a stew. Is it like a
yeah,
stew?
Yeah.
like a stew with
Yeah.
a lot of different cuts from pork and beef,
Mhm.
and we eat rice and beans, black beans. It's really nice.
Yeah. And you said the fish or
Yeah.
whatever.
For us, it's like, yeah, majority is rice, and our main staple is rice, like for like carb. Fish and beef, these are like the most comforting food that we use. We have like over 1,400 rivers. So
Right.
majority of our cuisine are based on fish, and we have like a bunch of variety of fishes and stuff.
Yeah.
So comfort food in my country would be fish and rice. That's basically.
I find it very interesting that a lot of times when we ask Americans what their comfort food is, it can be mac and cheese, things like that, but oftentimes people go towards a dessert is a comfort food. And it's very interesting, every one of you are talking about healthy food, healthier options, which is great. But the question that often comes up is that there's health changes that occur when people come from other countries. So one of the things is body changes, body shape changes, gut changes. So can you describe or talk about that?
Okay. So for me, my first 2 months in the United States was like I wasn't enjoying myself to the extent that I kept visiting the hospital on weekly basis. And then my primary doctor had to tell me that, hey, I think you need to change your diet. So yeah, it was when I changed my diet, like I adjusted to what I was, eating back home, like the rice, the beans, even though they don't taste the same, but I felt a bit relieved in my body system. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, how about you?
I suppose for me, I haven't been here long enough to see like big changes, but I would say like if I did kind of have to check myself and be like, okay, if I keep eating like this, I'm gonna end up gaining weight. And it's not for a lack of exercise because I've been doing so much like with the campus rec and I play tennis as well. But yeah, it's just a matter of there's just so much food around the place, and at home I wouldn't be used to like even snacking and stuff, whereas here like there's always some sort of snack in the office, or like you pass by here and they have the little jar of candy or literally just I feel like every single turn I take, like you have to just kind of check yourself and be like, am I actually hungry now, or am I just eating this because it's there?
So it happened to me too. Like it's just because of there, or just I'm actually hungry. I know what you're talking about.
So what you're talking about is you're having to be more mindful in your eating rather than, and you're trying to stick with your intuitive eating. Am I really hungry? Am I not hungry? You're trying to get those cues. But you,
Like I said before, when I arrived here, I was eating too much fried food, and I'm not used to it. So I was having a stomach pain. But then I had to readapt myself. I say, no, it's bad for me. And then I started eating something similar, not the same, but it's at home. Like when there is rice, beans, potatoes, carrots, and meat, you know?
That's great.
Yeah, basically this.
So for me, for you gain weight, a lot weight than you actually have. I was not like this fat. I was much more leaner and much more active in back home. So after here saying for like after 2-3 years, I definitely noticed I become a little bit more sluggish than the more active I used to be. Like you feel lazy just going from here to there. This is the first factor. Second factor, like I said, you gain weight. And also I feel like here food makes you bloated. This is something I noticed, even though with my food, like even though you the same food, you definitely feel out like more bloated, even though I eat less than before. But like right now I work classes. I just eat one day back home. Even though I eat like 3 times a day constantly, you didn't feel sluggish or you didn't feel like
But yeah, you said to me the other day, I mean, like, you know, we don't move as much as,
we don't move as much here.
you know, one of the things like in the Italy program, I mean, we're walking everywhere, the pedestrianized area, right? You guys were walking, and we would have students that would come and they'd say, where's the gym? Because I'm used to going to the gym all the time. And it's like, you don't need to, Italians don't really go to the gym that much because you don't need to, you're walking everywhere. You don't need to
You
work out.
walk, and for us, we play also like football. We play football. So we have a specific game called cricket. It's like use ball and like the bat to
I
play
love
it.
cricket.
You play you like it?
Yes.
So we play cricket, mostly like after school from like every day for 2-3 hours straight. Used to play or just walk around the whole area with my friends. Just, even though we do nothing, we don't play, we just walk around. That's pretty much what we did every day. But here it's like less. Community is busier. People are busier. People don't like hang out as much as they should. Communications, like the commuting from one place to like communication place. Like for us, we have like tea stalls and like small restaurants all over. Like if you just walk around, then like just an alley, there's like a tea stall or a smaller restaurant where just people gather around and just sit, talk, and just walk like around. Here it's very less like available. So people just don't interact too much. They don't walk too much because, like I said, you get like the walking distance are really bad.
As an athlete, you were ready to say
Yeah,
something.
that's something that I noticed back home. Unless like São Paulo capital, people don't walk too much, but I'm living in a small city. And most of the cities in Brazil, you go outside, you see a lot of people going to places walking or by bike, you know. You say, oh, it's only a 30-minute walk, we go walking. Here, when you go outside, you see on the roads like only cars, you know, you don't see people walking.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't see even place for people to walk. Only cars.
Because the roads are not
Yeah, only
convenient. They're
roads.
like uphill, downhill. It's like not walkable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just got a bike just over a week ago, and it's crazy to me that like anyone I talk to, I'm like, if you see a bike on the road, there's a 90% chance it's me because there's no other bikes around, and you can tell actually from the dangerous overtakes people are doing.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're not used to having bikes on the road, or even when I want to park up my bike somewhere, there's nowhere to park my bike, whereas at home we have cycle lanes and we have a lot more people cycling, but walking is like the biggest thing. And that's something that struck me because I spent a summer in California a few years ago. And it was the first thing that struck me, that it was a 20-minute walk to the office and no one did it.
Yeah.
And I was like, 20 minutes is like so short.
Yeah, time is
Yeah.
different, right?
Like at home, I'd
Yeah.
walk into town, it could be like an hour walk.
Right. Well, let's thank our panelists for taking the time.
You know, I know the class is over, so you have to go, definitely, but if you have questions, you know, or anything, just, you know, you can stick around and answer a couple questions. I have a question.
What's up?
Sinner or Alcaraz?
Alcaraz.
Ah, come on.
I think I'm a Sinner fan, I'm not gonna lie.
They're both good. They're both good.